What's good, people? Agent Juice reporting for duty. Today, in Making Cartoons, I'm going to be taking the excitement down a notch and speed paint one of the less plot-important characters of Meanie and Happyland. Behold, the mild and mellow, the calm and unassuming, Mr. Jenkins. Mr. Jenkins is Melody's next-door neighbor. He's an elderly denizen of the quiet town of Dafodale who's more often than not the first to greet Melody every morning and spends most of his time just doing what old people do, I guess. Mr. Jenkins doesn't seem to sweat the small stuff, or the big stuff for that matter. When Melody goes off on her big journey to find a critter in need, Mr. Jenkins just gives her a pleasant wish of good luck and goes on about his business. And when Melody returns to town with the big hulking grump that is Adon, good old Mr. Jenkins doesn't seem to notice anything off about the latter and just greets him as usual and then goes about his business, almost blissfully unaware of Adon's unusual demeanor. And with that out of the way, let's go over design. Mr. Jenkins is a recurring extra in the series, so he's not terribly important to the overall story. The only big thing of note about him is he just so happens to be Melody's neighbor, and therefore is going to be in close proximity of her antics. Because of this rather unassuming role he plays, I don't really want to do too much with his design that makes him stick out. Honestly, I just kind of thought to myself, what would a generic old man look like? And just kind of ran with that concept while drawing him. His posture is hunched but content, his clothing plain but practical. He's a subdued fellow, but not out of fatigue or wear, but rather age and comfort. I should probably note that unlike the other characters I've speed painted before, Mr. Jenkins has no prior artwork that I'm referencing. This is the very first time I'm drawing him, so you guys get to see me create a brand new character out of the blue entirely from scratch. How exciting. And before moving on, I want to note that I also specifically named him Mr. Jenkins because I wanted to have my own Old Man Jenkins in Meanie and Happyland, because it amuses me. Anyway, just because Mr. Jenkins is supposed to be an unassuming old man doesn't mean I don't want to add some character to him. So in regards to his character, if I were to describe Mr. Jenkins in one word, and just a heads up, this is another one of those weird words, I would say that he is a dude. Now, I don't mean a dude, but a dude. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Mr. Jenkins is chill. He goes with the flow, he's easy to talk to, doesn't make a fuss or a scene, and just takes everything in stride, almost to the point of unawareness. Even when strange and unusual things do happen to him, it kind of just rolls off his back like water on a duck. And that's just the things that are big and noticeable. Other times it seems like he's not even aware of his surroundings. He's kind of supposed to be like my mole man. You know, all sorts of wild and crazy happenstances befall him, but unlike Mole Man, who's meant to suffer from these hijinks, Mr. Jenkins just kind of bumbles along without a care. In fact, to the point of putting Mr. Jenkins through so many shenanigans is more so that Melody can dote over him. It's kind of like those Tom and Jerry cartoons where they're supposed to be watching over a baby or something, and like the baby wanders off into a construction site and miraculously misses all the death traps, and Tom and Jerry have like a mini heart attack after every near miss. It's kind of the same concept. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to coloring. As I mentioned earlier, this is the first time drawing Mr. Jenkins, so I don't have a previous color palette that I can glean from. I also don't have a preconceived idea of what color to make him. I'm just kind of going with a gut feeling. But to keep with his unassuming theme, I am going to use a muted color scheme, as you will eventually see when I get to the coloring. I'm kind of going with, dark, muted, cool colors, a simple gray in his hair. I mean, he's old, so of course he's going to have gray in his hair. In fact, the grayness extends into his eye color, and I think I just make him a gray color or some kind of grayish green or whatever. And for those of you who've seen my previous speed paints, I always make a big stinking deal about eye color because I believe them to be the gateway into the soul or something like that. And of course, Mr. Jenkins is no different. He's meant to be plain through and through, so I might as well just emulate that by showing the plainness in his eyes. Just a good old sweet old man along for the ride. And to sum it all up, that's pretty much what he is. A plain guy, a sweet old man, just kind of there. Whether he's greeting his young neighbor Melody with a hearty hello or watering the grass, blissfully unaware of the mayhem around him, you could say that he's just meant to be out there, taking her easy for all us sinners. Basically, I want this design to say, "Oh, well, top of the morning to you, lass. I hope your little friend project that determines the very fate of your entire future is going well. Oh, don't mind me. I'm just taking in the fine scenery, enjoying a completely normal morning with no sign of commotion or turmoil. Ah, I see you've found yourself a new friend, and I'm sure he's a fine, upstanding fellow with no propensity for violence or destruction. Ah, Do pardon the atrocious Irish accents. I guess I forgot to mention that I want him to be an elderly Irish fellow. Anyway, have I succeeded in my seat-of-the-pants approach to nonsensical character design? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoy the content and wish to see more, I beseech thee to press the sacred buttons of algorithmic prosperity so that our cold and unfeeling Silicon Valley overlords see fit to not smite our pathetic souls for another day. Also, if you wish to follow me elsewhere, go ahead and hit up my social media links down below. I use most of the mainstream sites, as well as some alternative sites to encourage market diversity. And with that all said, I thank you for spending this time with me. I hope you guys stick around, and until next time, deuces.